So, verbs тип 1. Тип номер 1. Tip meaning type. Tip, type. Well, these verbs are ending in ать, еть, and ять. Ать, еть, and ять. Technically, you take a verb, so the way it's written in a dictionary, let's say the verb работать, to work. Работать. Работать is to work. And you can see ать, 3 letters in the end of the word, in the end of this verb, and it's most likely the verb of the type 1. There are some exceptions, we will learn them a little bit later, or I will emphasize on these exceptions later on. But however, for now on, you categorize that. It's a verb of the type 1. And we separate this verb from the ending. So, let's write our personal pronouns first. Я, ты, он, она, мы, вы, они. Они. Can you remember our personal pronouns? Я, meaning I, ты, you, он, она, he, she, мы, we are, вы, you, in plural, and они, they. So, now we'll simply take работ, the verb without the ending. Работ. And for me would be работаю. You. Работаю. Ты, again. Работ. Аешь. Аешь. Работаешь. Он, она. Работает. Мы. Работаем. Вы. Работаете. And они работают. So, this is basically the scheme how we will work on this. So, я работаю, ты работаешь, you in singular working, он, она работает, he, she working, мы работаем, we are working, вы работаете, you in plural working, and они работают, they are working. Well, and to make it a sentence, for any of these conjugated verbs, for any of these instances of conjugated verb, if we would end я работаю, ты работаешь with the word, for example, дома. Дома. It would mean at home. Я работаю дома would be I'm working at home. Ты работаешь дома. You are working at home. Он, она работает дома. He, she is working at home. So, this is one simple thing. we don't need to use articles, or we don't need to change the structure of the sentence. However, the difficulty is with the endings of verbs, with the conjugation of verbs, and also with the modification of noun after the verb. However, for now we are working on verbs. Let's go to the second type. Verbs of type number 2, type 2. Type 2. And in eat. Eat. And let's take example, говорить. Говор. Eat. Говорить, to speak. There are lots of exceptions, however, this is the general rule for you so far. We will learn exceptions later on. We'll learn them as they come. So, говорить. How will we work on this? Again, we will take говор and put special endings. Я говорю. Я говорю. Ты говоришь. Иш. Он, она говорит. Мы говорим. This is all. Говорим. Вы говорите. And они говорят. So, я говорю, ты говоришь, он, она говорит, мы говорим, вы говорите, они говорят. And let's make a sentence, so we will actually learn something. По-русски. По in Russian. Русски. По-русски. So, and the sentences would be: я говорю по-русски. I'm speaking Russian. Ты говоришь по-русски. You are speaking Russian. Он говорит по-русски. He speaks Russian. Она говорит по-русски. She speaks Russian. Мы говорим по-русски. We are speaking Russian. Вы говорите по-русски. You are speaking Russian in polite and in plural form. Они говорят по-русски. They are speaking Russian. Verbs of the third type, type number 3. Type number 3. And in нуть, еять and аять. Нуть, еять and аять. And аять. And the example would be пахнуть, to smell. Пахнуть. Пахнуть is to smell. So here, N is staying with the verb. If we will separate now, we separate only the last three letters. Пахн, пахнуть. And again, я пахну. Я пахну. Ты пахнешь. Ты пахнешь. Он, она пахнет. Пахнет. Мы пахнем. Вы Вы пахнете. Вы пахнете. And они пахнут. Again, this is just for structurize, to structurize your understanding. You write it down one after another, type 1 until type 6, and later on we will make much more examples and we will go deeper into how each single type is built. However, for now it's я пахну, I'm smelling, ты пахнешь, you are smelling, он пахнет, he is smelling, она пахнет, she is smelling, мы пахнем, we are smelling, вы пахнете, you in plural or you in polite form, smelling, and они пахнут, they are smelling. And to make a sentence out of this, we will put хорошо, good. Хорошо. So, I'm smelling well, я пахну хорошо. You are smelling well, ты пахнешь хорошо. He smells well would be он пахнет хорошо. She is smelling well, она пахнет хорошо. We are smelling well, мы пахнем хорошо. Вы пахнете хорошо would be you in plural or you in polite form, smelling well, and they are smelling well, они пахнут хорошо. So again, just to be clear, in the third type, we take the verb, we recognize it ends with нуть or еять or аять, but we separate only the only the three last letters. Well, and for you just to know, there's endings. It's more or less to structurize the knowledge. They don't have any particular meaning. So here, нуть is just for you to recognize the type 3. The separation of three letters, уть, ять or ять, do not have much of factual meaning. The verbs of type number 4, тип номер 4, тип номер 4, number, do you remember? And in овать, евать. Овать, евать. Евать. So if you see a verb ending in овать or евать, there is a big possibility it's a verb of type number 4. And the example would be требовать, to demand. Требовать. Овать. So требовать is written in one word. The minus here is signifying only the ending овать. I already separated треб from овать for you. Well, again, овать is just the ending. In the last type number 3, we were separating only the last 3 letters. Here we need to separate all 4 letters. So требовать. You need to recognize овать or евать and separate the last, the last five letters in this case. And let's work on them. So I'm demanding. Требовать is to demand. I'm demanding would be я треб, and the ending ую. Я требую. Ты, you, треб, and the ending would become уешь. Уешь. Ты требуешь. Он, она, треб, and the ending ует. Ует. Он, она требует. Мы треб уем. Вы you in polite form or in plural. Требуете. Требуете. Уете. And они, they. Они требуют. So, we separate the verb from the last four letters, ovat in this case, and we take the rest, the first four letters here in treb, and the endings would become ую, уешь, ует, уем, уете, ую. With certain exceptions, however, this is the general form for now. So, I am demanding would become я требую. You are demanding, ты требуешь. He demands. Он требует. She demands. Она требует. We are demanding. Мы требуем. Вы требуете. Would become is you are demanding in a polite form or in you plural. And they are demanding. Они требуют. Here I made a mistake. It's они. Они требуют. They are demanding. The verbs of type number 5 will have endings sti, zt, and st. So, тип номер 5. Endings sti, st, i, z, t, soft sign, мягкий знак, zt, and st, soft sign, st, st, st. And let's take an example verb, нести. Нести. Again, this minus sign does not have any meaning here. I just separated the last two letters from нес. Yes. So, well, here again, to recognize this particular type number 5 verb, we need to look at three last letters. However, for the structure, we need to separate only the last two letters. And нести is to carry. How would we say I'm carrying? Я, again, we separate the last two letters. Нес, and ending with у. Я несу, I'm carrying. Ты, you, in singular. Ты несешь. Ты несешь. You are carrying. Он, она, he and she are carrying. He, she is carrying. Нес. Он несет, она несет. Йод. Мы, we, мы несем. Мы несем. Мы несем. Мы несем. Вы, you in polite form or in plural. Несете. Вы несете. And они, they are carrying. Они несут. Они несут. So again, for type number 5, we recognize the ending of the verb, again, as in all types. If it's sti, zt, or st, we separate the verb from the last two letters and ending it for я, for I, in this case I'm carrying. Я несу. Ты несешь. Он несет. Она несет. She is carrying. He is carrying. Мы несем. We are carrying. Ending ем. Вы несете. And они несут. They are carrying. And to make a sentence out of this, let's make a book. I'm carrying a book. He is carrying a book. And book was книга, and in this case I'm carrying the book. It would be книгу. Книгу. So the rules for книгу, how to change from книга into книгу, we'll learn later on. However, for now, let's take it as it is. So книгу. I am carrying a book. Я несу книгу. You are carrying a book. Ты несешь книгу. He is carrying a book. Он несет книгу. And she is carrying a book. Она несет книгу. We are carrying a book. Мы несем книгу. Вы несете книгу would be you in plural or in polite form. Вы несете книгу. And they are carrying a book. Они несут книгу. So, and the last type, the type number 6, тип номер 6. Тип номер 6 will be verbs ending with ch. Actually, ech. The difficulty of this type will be that we will need to place between new ending another letter, and sometimes we will need to replace ye with another letter. So let's, if you would see this as a verb and it ends with ech, we would need to think about if we should remain with yeah and if we should place another letter between the new ending. It sounds like math, it sounds like difficult, and it is. However, don't worry about this. I will tell you. Just look for all of these cases, all of these types of verbs, and try to create a scheme inside your head. Don't even try hard to learn it by heart. Just get experience in this. Just get the feeling, and follow your feelings. This is the first thing I would suggest to you, and continue with lessons, and try to come back to this lesson and to watch it over. This lesson or particular lessons for different types of verbs, and at some point you will realize that you're using it more or less intuitively. And then again, if you see language as a tool of communication, as something functional, then you will have a greater ease on this, because Russians, I am promising you, Russians will more or less understand you, and people who would like to help you, they will correct you, or people will just show you that you should use it differently. Well, they will correct you one way or another, and you will get used to this, and at some point you will use it right way. So don't see it as a signal to stop and to try to learn it by heart and then start using it once you know exactly which verb to use which way. Start using it wrongly and develop yourself and become right and become more proficient in Russian. Create statistical data in your head about Russian language. This is my advice. However, the way you will do this, it's up to you. You can also study this and you can learn the schemes. If you're good at memorizing, it will be a great help for you to become professional Russian speaker. Well, and just because we gave examples for every type, let's give an example here. Is to bake. Печь. Печь. So here we got pech, and the ending would be ech. We recognize it's type 6. It ends with ch soft sign. And well, let's work on this. I'm baking would be я пеку. Я пеку. Ты печешь. Ты печешь. Своё. Ты печешь. And он, она печет. Печет. Он, она печет. Мы печем. Печем. Вы печете. Печете. печёте, and они пекут. Они пекут. So, я пеку, I'm baking. Ты печешь, you in singular baking, he, she печет, он, она печет, she's baking, he's baking. Мы печем, we are baking, вы печете, you in plural or in polite form, you are baking, and they are baking. Они пекут. And to make a sentence out of this, because we want to learn in every lesson something, so хлеб. So we could bake. What could we bake? Well, and probably bread is the most useful thing to learn. And we got bread, хлеб. Хлеб. So я пеку хлеб. I'm baking bread. Ты печешь хлеб. You are baking bread. Он печет хлеб. He is baking хлеб. He is baking bread. Она печет. She is baking. Well, она печет хлеб. She is baking bread. Мы печем хлеб. We are baking bread. Вы печете хлеб. You in plural or in polite form. You are baking хлеб. And they are baking bread would be они пекут хлеб. So we got the last type 6. Again, I just wanted to mention you there are 6 types, and if I would imagine myself learning the 6 types in a new language and try to use them straight away, it will be very difficult. It will be very difficult, and it will stress my my whole nature of learning. I would suggest to you just get to know these types. Try to recognize the endings and try more or less intuitively use them. Don't force yourself into the schemes, and probably keep it on the paper. Just write them down and keep them on the paper and try to recognize and try to get used to use these types.